Aw, yeah. Let's get this party started up in here. Whoop, whoop. Hey, this is Mark. You're listening to this show probably on your mobile device, whether it's iOS or Android or even Windows Mobile. Who has one of those? But anyway, you're probably listening whether it's iTunes or Stitcher or some other wonderful mobile app that brings this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. Yeah, but did you also know that you can find this show among several others in this category at the Tangent Bound Network? That's right, go visit tangentboundnetwork.com, check it out, where you can always get the latest episode of this and other shows quite like it. Although, admittedly, there is no show quite like this one.
Hello, everybody, to the Thanksgiving edition of the MLBeers podcast with your host, Andrew Sherman and Philip Corwin. Philip, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm, heading down to the home stretch of school, and I know it's getting a little bit busy, but, I'm ready to get out of school. I am ready to graduate, and I'm just ready for a lot of things, as said. What about yourself?
Oh, working retail, we're gearing up for this weekend. And yeah, so after we get ready for that, just heading back home tomorrow and Thursday for Thanksgiving. And then right after that, just going to be working and getting ready for Christmas. Not really a whole lot going on.
Ooh, Christmas time. I think, I don't know who has the busier part at the moment. You working retail or me trying to graduate from college. I mean, both of those are really hard, on us. But
oh, yeah.
I mean, you've done it. You've done the whole college graduation thing. I haven't done it yet, so it's going to be very, very interesting what's going to happen.
It's going to be a good time for you, though.
Oh yeah, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't even know what we're going to do for, I guess, a party, party stuff. But I think there's going to be.
What I did.
Just go bar hopping. Isn't that what you did?
No, we got 2 kegs of Boulevard.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We got their Pale Ale and their Boss Tom, and they were still brewing it. And we did a big cookout, finished those kegs, and then we went to the bar.
Well, I think this is just, guessing. I think my graduation party will be at this bar that my family's been going to. My Henry side of the family has been going to for a very long time down here in Springfield. So I think that's what we're going to do, and I think it's going to be a good time. I don't know what time it's going to start. Hopefully it will start maybe at 7, and I think my mom, hopefully she can conjure up something, because I know she always conjures up something with her friends on going out to, going on float trips and stuff. But hopefully she can conjure up something to have a great graduation party. So,
When is your graduation?
My graduation will be December 15th. And it's an early one. 10 o'clock.
Oh God, do you have the 10 o'clock one?
Yeah, I don't.
And they're doing it on a Friday?
Yeah, why not? Because I know that they're doing all of it on Friday. They're gonna have the 10 o'clock, which is the bachelor's of the College of Arts and Letters, and then they're going to have the business one at 1 o'clock. And they do them differently because the business one has usually at least 1,000 to 2,000 students graduating that, and the seating wouldn't hold up the College of Arts and Letters and College of Business at the same time. Plus, I
Oh, yeah,
mean,
no.
different speakers and
UCM.
all that stuff. So
I'll say, yeah, when I graduated UCM, they do 2 separate graduations every year.
I think in the spring though, they do 3 graduations.
I'll say, yeah, because most states are bigger than UCM.
But usually in the winter it's 2. But I mean, I think it will be a good time. I think I know a lot of people will be happy to see me graduate. Hopefully, with a new job or without a new job. I think those times will be coming up sooner or later. But you know, just got to go with the flow, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And, with that, that's kind of how this free agent off season's kind of going right now, though.
I I have to give you that segue right there. That was a
House par-
that was
perfect, bud.
perfect segue right there because really there's nothing going on in this, in this off season, and even with free agency, they're watching, getting into the baseball stuff, watching all the videos like who's going where, who's doing this. There's not really a bunch of, rumblings, not even I guess tremors,
Unless
on
you're
a Richter scale. What's up?
unless you're Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, which I mean, that's still even up in the air, and I'm even questioning the whole situation with Giancarlo Stanton and his possible ways of getting into many teams, and one is with the Cardinals, one is supposedly with the Red Sox, one is with the Giants. Those are kind of
The Giants.
the 3 main
Giants are
go-getters.
The Giants are the ones that I saw made I saw their offer that was released. What was it, like Joe Panic, and they were getting D Gordon in this deal too.
Yeah, they were getting Joe Panic. The Marlins, I should say. The Marlins were getting Joe Panic. I believe one of their highly touted prospects. Somebody else, and I feel like they were getting money too. And then, the Giants would get Giancarlo Stanton and D Gordon, which, I mean, it's a bold move for the Giants that missed the playoffs in 2017, and not only by little but by a lot,
They were not good.
They were pitiful, but I mean, you can
I don't have D
kind
Gordon's numbers in front of me.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
If you put Stanton in that ballpark, that AT&T ballpark in San Francisco, there's no way he can't hit another 50 plus.
Yeah, he's in a hitters friendly ballpark, and I believe, Marlins Park is also a hitters friendly ballpark. I think I can get the numbers up here sooner or later, but no, I definitely understand, with you that if he gets into another hitter's ballpark, see you later, Giancarlo Stanton. You're going to be a giant.
And if the Giants trade Panic, who's their second baseman, they got D Gordon, who was it the year before was he suspended for PED, and this was his first full season back.
Yeah, the whole that was the whole questionable thing, and I believe we talked about that a while back, not on here, but just normal talks that he kind of he had the PED usage, which was a little bit odd because he was injured and all this other stuff, and it was really weird.
Yeah, and it was just odd. But if he goes to the Giants with Stanton, what was it, last year? Yeah, last year, this past season, he hit 308.
Mm-hmm.
He had 200 hits.
Mm-hmm.
653 at-bats. Okay, so he played all year. The Giants would have to be coming out on top of that deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking.
Also, do you know D. Gordon's last name is hyphenated?
What is it? I want to know. I need to know.
Devarius Strange hyphen Gordon.
Yes. That is great.
Strange Gordon. Sounds like something you look up on Urban Dictionary and not want to know the definition to.
Yeah, that does have a little bit of a questionable feel with that. Actually, getting back to AT&T Park real quick.
Oh,
it's
hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
D. Gordon played a career high in games this year.
Which is 58?
158.
Dang. That is really ridiculous. And I mean, I knew this kid, I don't know the kid personally, but I saw him with the Dodgers, back early 2010. He was second baseman. He was, hit or miss, but when he got to the Marlins, he finally found his stride. But he finally reached that 150 mark, which is possible.
That's why that deal with the Giants makes no sense then.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. And it doesn't. Well, let's just keep it as it doesn't, but it makes sense for Derek Jeter.
Yeah, it makes sense for Derek Jeter
Mm-hmm.
because he would just be dumping a shit ton of payroll.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can get a good enough return on prospect and save on payroll, he could put together a mediocre team again without committing to a full rebuild.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to check Cott's baseball contracts real quick on the whole money situation, because I know it's going to be a very interesting amount when I would
and
look
while
at
you're looking
this.
that up, we can kind of talk about like the top 5 free agents that are, out there right now
Mhm.
between Yu Darvish, Jake Arrieta, Wade Davis, Eric Hosmer, and who am I not thinking? Oh, JD Martinez.
JD Martinez, we kind of brought that up. Hold on one second. So for 2018, we're going back with Giancarlo Stanton and D. Gordon. The Marlins would save, if I'm good at math, $35 million. Well,
Okay.
$35.8 million in 2018. In 2019, they would save $39.3 million. In 2020, they would be saving the same amount again, $39.8 million. And then I believe in 2021, I believe they have a option with D. Gordon where they would be saving $30 million. So yeah, it makes sense to dump all that money into dump all that money.
The Marlins, they could they still got Christian Yelich,
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Zuna, and then JT Realmuto.
Mm-hmm.
They got 3 solid guys already in the MLB. What their first baseman was Justin Bohr.
Yeah, which he wasn't that bad, but he wasn't, he was a everyday player. There you go.
Yeah. And then what? Shortstop, who do they have?
Shortstop, they would have had, since I have Cott's contracts up here. See, it would be Indy Hechavarria, but he was traded during, I believe, like the first part of the season, like the first fourth of the season.
Okay,
I believe it would have been Miguel Rojas. And,
yeah, that's who I was looking at.
And I know there was somebody. JT Riddle. That was the guy that everybody was talking about. And, I mean, if they want to put him at second, which would be okay, and if Miguel Rojas gets better, all right, they both got the spots. Miguel Rojas, he's finally going to start arbitration money for this upcoming year. And then
Rojas, he hit 290 last year, and
Mm-hmm.
Granted, is only at 217 at bat, 272 at bats, and Riddle hit 250.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Marlins could dump that payroll and turn it around and get some good starting and bullpen pitching,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a huge argument against them being good next year.
And the weird thing about it is they just need a way to restructure Giancarlo Stanton's contract where it will seem good. And I know it's effing difficult to restructure a contract when the next year he's going to get paid $25 million freaking dollars. But it's just, if they kind of, cut back on that, make it like, cut $5 million out of it or $6 million out of it. I mean, this upcoming season he'll make $25 million. Cut $5 million from that, he would get 20, then 21, and then 21 again in 2020, and then he would get 24 million in 2021, and that in 2022. But it's just that if they can somehow cut back that money a little bit from his contract, maybe cut back a couple million, but have that million back in bonuses, where if he gets platinum slugger or platinum glove award or MVP award, he'll get that money. He'll get that lovely chunk of change. But if they don't restructure that contract where it's favored on both sides, and they still have a good team. I mean, yeah, they were second in a really, really shitty NL East division, which, I mean, was over since probably the first week of May. But it's just, they have the opportunity to, if they can restructure those contracts. They got a good team. They just, like you said, need that bullpen, and they need some starting pitching.
And an actual farm.
Yeah, exactly. And, before the interruption of me getting to the, contracts and stuff, we were talking about with the top five free agents: J.D. Martinez, Jake Arrieta, Yu Darvish, Eric Hosmer, and Wade Davis. And, you would kind of hear something out of all of them. Of course, they declined their qualifying offers from the teams.
And of course,
yeah, go
you're
ahead.
always hearing a little bit of things, but like there's not really been a kind of like 80% true rumor.
A solidified rumor, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's solidified. Like, you're just not really hearing that from any of these top guys right now.
And just to interrupt, just that you're not hearing from the top guys, but you're hearing from their agents, and that's where it's just that's where it's just kind of getting complicated.
Yeah, and their agents are playing them up like they should, trying to sell their players, sell their product. Get it. But usually, it's been 3 weeks since the World Series.
Yeah, been 3 weeks. Man,
usually
time flies by.
At this point, going into December, at least one, maybe two of those guys are pretty connected to a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and
it could be, last year, look what happened. Toronto made a rush and signed Kendrys Morales to a pretty big, larger contract than he probably should have got.
Mm-hmm.
Because the market played out favorably for DH types like Morales later in the offseason,
mm-hmm.
where they needed to sign and they could get him at a cheaper deal. And, is that possibility what's happening? Because, Eric Hosmer's kind of that big controversy of how much money is he really going to get?
Yeah, and, that's...
And I think it could be scaring away some teams because they don't want to overpay for an Eric Hosmer type.
Mm-hmm. Because he's not your prototypical, first
Superstar.
baseman. Yeah, that too. he is a first baseman that's contact first, not power first. Which, I mean, if you're a sabermetrics guy and don't care about home runs, yeah, okay, perfectly fine. But this was his first year, being consistent, hitting over 300. This is a guy. Go ahead.
Last year he had a negative WAR.
Yeah, which. Yeah.
Okay. And the year before that, 2015, he had a positive WAR. Year before that, he was replacement level WAR. He's just never had back-to-back good seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he keeps winning Gold Gloves.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing. That is kind of the weird thing.
I'm a Royals fan through and through. But by the numbers, Hosmer is not that good of a defensive first baseman.
I've been hearing a lot about that too, where he's not the greatest of them all, but I guess if he makes it, right?
Apparently. And if he's making plays, then fine. But there's just better, like that article I read, Carlos Santana has legitimately been a better defensive first baseman than Hosmer every year since Carlos Santana switched over from catcher to first base.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a more consistent player year to year.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird that there's not a whole lot more talk around Santana, who's a switch-hitting first baseman.
Well, if this is the thing, though, if I know defensive WAR is kind of is the big deal, but looking at it too, it's just like a lot of people are looking. Maybe they're just looking at WAR period, in which he is first. The guy is first. Hosmer is first with a 4.1, and Jose Abreu's right behind him. Carlos Santana with a straight 3. But looking at it defensively, I know it's a different story. Trying to get the fielding stats up real quick, just kind of get a feel of it all, and Hosmer has a negative .4 UZR 150, which it's like it's the ultimate zone rating per 150 innings, I believe, is the reason why they call it that. But he is just, really, he is just not good. And when you go back to Santana, if you want a definitive number, defensive run saves, all right? Carlos Santana, 10. Pretty much the runner-up for, Gold Glove. Your first baseman, Gold Glove winning first baseman in the American League, Eric Hosmer, -7. And I feel like you just fell to the ground.
Yeah, no, I've looked it all up. It just doesn't. I don't know, because the managers vote on this, right?
I believe it's a bit of managers and maybe writers. I keep on forgetting which. There's so many freaking awards out there. I can't remember which is which. But
is Hosmer the type of guy that he just passes what they call the eye test? He just looks good doing it because he has good mechanics. Possibly.
And I know that sounds really weird to, all of us, to the both of us and to all the listeners, but, sometimes the eye test wins it. And
because sometimes there's certain players that, for me, who were just kind of average, everyday players, but I thought they were really good just because I liked the way their swing looked.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no reason behind it besides that it looked good to me.
Yeah. And, that's going to be, with any of these any of these players, these really the top 5 free agents, you know, they might be, you know, they might have good days or bad days, but they still got those mechanics and still work it. I mean, hell, I mean, you have Scott Boras, you know, talking about JT Martinez, not JT, but JD Martinez, and how he's supposedly King Kong of baseball, you know, even though Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit, you know, all these freaking home runs, which, don't get me wrong,
But that's
Martinez did too.
that's
but,
the agent's job.
But that is the agent's job. But does it really, you know, is it really, you know, JD Martinez, is he mechanically sound swinging wise? And is he mechanically sound defensive wise? And that's where it kind of gets murky.
With a guy like JD Martinez, I feel like you'll see him back in the AL DHing and playing right field.
Yeah, somehow like these, you know, one of the worst teams in the AL will get him as a DH. You know, there's always that feeling.
Yeah. And just pay him money just to go bat. Because what is he? He's plus 30 at this point, right?
Plus 30 in, what do you mean by that?
Age.
In age, I believe he's right at 30?
30, 31, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Let me get these numbers up real quick. Where are you? Oh yeah. I think I found him. No, Paul Goldschmidt, of course. He's the one that everybody should be talking about, but isn't. Alrighty.
JD Martinez, how old are you?
Okay, finally got to it. He is officially 30 years and 3 months. So this was his year 29 season.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And a guy like him going into the season at 30, a team is going to want to give him probably a 5 to 7 year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to be paying him until he's 40.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, at this point, you would think he would have to transition to more of a permanent DH once a week right fielder.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it is that possibility. But if you also look at his numbers, it's probably not a good idea. He had a negative 13.1 defensive WAR in 2017.
That's what I mean. Like, I think NL teams are going to be more hesitant to sign him.
Mm-hmm. Unless, like you said, they make him DH, which, I mean, is up in the air.
Yeah.
And
then what?
And then I was about to say, then, you know, that's kind of it with JD Martinez, you know, King Kong of baseball. Really, the other, you know, we haven't heard anything about Wade Davis. Haven't really heard anything about Yu Darvish.
Or Arrieta.
Which, Arrieta is kind of weird. I've been, you know, again, not solidified rumors, but of course, I've heard that Milwaukee might be trying to get Arrieta. But, I mean, that's a little bit questionable. Will Arrieta, you know, sign? Possibly, since he is kind of over the hill in a sense.
Yeah, and I would think at Arrieta, especially after winning the World Series with the Cubs, he would want to go to a team that's at least going to be contending.
Yeah, and, you know, Jake Arrieta, 31 years old in 8 months. So he just finished, really, I believe he would have finished his year 31 season with the Cubs. And, you know, who really knows? I mean, again, like you said, all these players, all these top 5 players want to go to a team that's going to contend. And, I mean, it would be interesting to see him going to Milwaukee, I mean, they kind of did contend to the very end of the season. They didn't make it into the wild card, and they do have I think it's Nelson.
Yes.
Nelson that is injured. And it would be a good replacement for him while he's getting, recovered. He's going to be back in the middle of season. So it's going to be it would be a good fit, but still not solidified to be, delving into everything else in between.
And that's kind of how like this whole first part of the show is going to be, is just because there's not a lot of solidified rumors, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Like really the only thing to talk about, which we'll start talking about one in a moment, is first of all, the Atlanta Braves. The investigation is over with the international signing of international players, which the MLB really went down on the Atlanta Braves, giving up
GM banned for life. Their ex-GM is banned for life.
Banned for life. They lost 12 minor leaguers out of this process, which
and one of them was supposed to be a pretty top-rated prospect.
Shortstop. Not only that, but a shortstop, which I know in the AL is, stacked to the teeth, but in the NL, not so much.
Yeah, and they're all becoming eligible free agents.
Mm-hmm. And later on, there's going to be some posting rules about that because they don't want teams to poach and yada, 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 which that will be coming out sooner or later. The other thing is what I'm happy about. We'll possibly finally get to see the Japanese Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani, the two-way master, pitching and hitting-wise, possibly in the MLB this upcoming season. And I am so happy to see it, even though my high hopes might be dashed when he has some type of pitching issue because he's not used to the size of the baseball, or he gets plunked because he's the new kid in the block and he gets hit in the arm.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. I would love to see, to be honest with you, I guess I give graces to like international players in Asia than, Latin America and players from the United States.
But he's coming off an injury though. He only played 65 games this past season.
Yes, and that is coming off of if I remember correctly, an ankle injury that he had when he finished the season with the Nippon Ham Fighters, in the 2016 season, then kind of re-aggravated it doing warm-ups for the World Baseball Classic, which it would have been awesome to see him in it, and it would have definitely been kind of the American,
showcase.
The American showcase. And they probably, I'm not going to say, Japan would have definitely won it if they had Shohei Ohtani, but definitely would have, put some pressure on, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, which I believe they did do that, and, the United States, because, Japan is a really great baseball country. We just don't give them a lot because they're kind of in that, I guess the golden middle, between AAA and in the MLB. That's why you always hear them call them, Quad A, because they're just like an everyday starter, but not quite. And Shohei Ohtani, and Shohei Ohtani is, when I watch his highlights, I'm always, enamored by the way that things, his swing is, smooth as Ken Griffey Jr.'s, and I'm calling that now. And if people are are going to start using that, I want a phone call. I want royalties. All right, because
You
Shohei
just gave away $1
Ohtani.
million ID.
Hmm?
You just gave away $1 million idea.
Yeah, I know. And I copyright. I'll try to trademark it by the end of the week, even though it'll be difficult since it's a holiday weekend. But
I'll
that
just
kid.
delete this portion of the show, and I'll send in the trademark, and you'll have no argument.
Yeah, and the kid has the sweetest swing. Every time I watch him hit, every time I watch him pitch, he doesn't. It just seems like he's flow. He just has a flow. He doesn't. He's not put. It doesn't seem like he is physically showing physically showing that he's pushing it to the limit. Maybe mentality he is, but watching the kid, he is something else. And I'll be sad.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's talk about this. So he could play the field and pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Which league do you think he would be best suited for?
American League. Because this is what's going to happen. On the days off. Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'll play devil's advocate after your.
Okay. The reason why the American League is because they would probably most likely put him as a pitcher DH role. They're not going to play him out in the outfield, which in Japan, that's what he does. He plays right field. And definitely in the Central League. They're the Nippon Professional Baseball League. They do what we do here. One league, the Pacific League, plays with the DH. The Central League plays without the DH. And when he's not pitching, he's DH. Well, he's actually right field. I haven't really heard much of his fielding, which is kind of a bit scary, but that's okay. But the reason why American League, they save his feet with right field. They make him a DH on the off days. They let him pitch when they need him to pitch. And the kid.
So you're saying he's not a starter?
The kid. No, he's a starter. Oh, he throws 100. He's definitely a starter. It's just he wants to embrace the full game of baseball. When kids in the United States grow up, by the age of 14, 15, they become specialized, and if you live in the city, you do, tournaments across the country, it's most likely 12 years old. The kid wants to do all. Let the kid do all. If you're not going to give him that opportunity, then what's holding, what is really holding them back? And I know it's all about money and everything else. And I would like to see, I really like to see him in the NL because then.
No, that's what I was going to say. Couldn't they do this?
Yeah, go ahead.
He could be their everyday right fielder.
Okay.
Everyday right fielder. And then he could be used as a reliever in double switches.
I could see that.
If you could, you send your relief pitcher in, he gets one guy out, and he's a lefty. And you bring in your lefty reliever. Next two batter, does he throw right or left?
He is a righty thrower, bats left.
Okay. So you got the next two batters up are right-handers. You bring him out of right field, and you just trust that he will be able to pitch away from the pitcher standing out in right field having to play defense.
Mm-hmm.
Or, pitchers are athletes still.
Mm-hmm.
I bet if they had to, I bet that pitcher could make a play in right field, a routine play.
Yeah.
Because they shag BP balls during batting practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's the same thing. It's a game time situation, yada, yada, yada. But then you don't lose that pitcher. You don't waste another pitcher out of the bullpen. You know, in that situation, you'd have to use 2 relief pitchers. And if that relief pitcher's up next inning, you're going to have to use a guy off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And you could use him more in a game than you would a normal relief pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
You could bring him in to get 1 out. And you don't have to take him out to pinch hit. So he theoretically could have like 3 holds in a game, a win, and a save.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think you get more use out of him in the NL or AL?
I think it's still going to be the AL. And, I mean, you could probably get more used to him in the NL. But thinking of it as like a GM, you don't want to pay so much money.
I was doing it for argument's sake.
Yeah. And
argument's sake, NL's fun to talk about, but I still think he ends up in like you said, the AL, DHing and pitching. Maybe not every 5 days, maybe every 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on what they want to do. And I mean, if you look at his numbers, and actually, I think I'm totally wrong. I mean, he does have some outfield experience. I'm looking at his baseball reference numbers. But he went to full-on pitching in 2015. And nope, not playing, out in the outfield and all that stuff. But he went full-on pitching in 2015. And, I mean, whatever happens, happens. I mean, I would like to, if he just becomes this pitcher, okay. If he becomes a hitter, okay. I think this kid deserves the opportunity to be in the MLB. He has the stuff for it. He can hit. He can definitely throw 100. So why, again, why are we having these quote-unquote problems getting him in? Well, that's because the CBA ruling back in 2013 definitely, kind of hindered, any player from Japan going into the MLB before the age of 25. Once they're 25, they can go. They have the opportunity to be posted and all that stuff. For Shohei Ohtani, special kind of kid, different than Masahiro Tanaka, Daisuke Matsusaka, Hideki Matsui. A lot of differences with those guys because they were specialists, and also Hideki Matsui was, when he finally finished when he finished baseball, he was 39. Daisuke Matsuzaka, they were, mid-30s or mid-30s when they were finished. And so this kid's 23 years old. He'll have a better opportunity than, Ichiro Suzuki when he was 27 and got in. And he'll get 3-4 years. And if he does what, we want him to do, great, But overall, it is kind of, it is a bit questionable. And I know it's a little bit questionable, looking at his numbers too, just real quick. Before then when he was doing outfielding and pitching, didn't have the greatest numbers, even though he could still, even though he still had some hits. But right now when he's pitching and he gets the opportunity to hit, he's doing it well. And again, he played 104 games in 2016, and you said 56 games in 2017. But you know what? Enough about baseball. There's nothing else going on with that. We're about to hit Thanksgiving. We're about to enjoy Thanksgiving with loved ones and, be thankful for. And before I ask some, I guess, diligent questions or delicate questions, Phil, we got to talk about, the second part of our name, the beer portion of our podcast.
Beers.
Beers. like none other. And I have to say before you talk about your beer, I think this is the first time ever that we both, that I can remember, both had the same brand of beer for one show.
Same brewery.
Same brewery. Yeah. And you go first. I think you have the more interesting one than I do.
I'm drinking Boulevard's Whiskey Stout. I'm trying to check in right now. Whiskey Barrel Stout.
Whiskey?
It comes in at
11.8%. Oh, you're just barely beating me out.
And it looks like its average rating on Untappd is a 4.1.
I have to ask, is it a Smokestack Series beer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 4-pack, though.
Okay, so it's not the bomber bottle. Or can
Nope.
you get them in a bomber bottle? Okay.
I don't think so. I can I'll read you the little description on it.
Go right on ahead. I love the description, and I know the lovely listeners like to hear the description.
So, Boulevard's Whiskey Barrel Stout. Over the top, but surprisingly approachable, this twist on a classic style starts with several types of malted barley, rye, oats, and wheat. Robust flavors of vanilla, espresso, whiskey, chocolate, and roasted grain are balanced by hints of date and plum, with just enough hops to round it all out. Roughly 1/3 of the final blend is freshly brewed beer. The rest is aged up for a year or more in both first and second use whiskey cask.
Not bad. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah. It is good, though. I enjoy it. I don't know what dates and plums taste like, so I can't tell you if I get that in there. But I don't get a whole lot of vanilla, but you do get that like bitterness from the espresso and chocolate. And then right at the end, and right at the beginning too, you get this like nice like whiff of whiskey. It's nice.
Mm-hmm. And I was about to say, you bring up the whole, it's a whiskey stout. Definitely you can, chocolate and espresso is like the key for the stout. And then you're just like, yeah, I can definitely get that nice whiskey blend in the front. It's just, if you can get those three characteristics down, then it will be.
And down right?
Yeah, and down right. It would be really, really good. And I believe I've not tried that one. So
I was able to get it 2 weeks ago because some friends and we went up to Logboat, and then we went and ate at this restaurant, and we were coming back, and we stopped at a little liquor store that I like going to in Columbia, and they had a 4-pack of it. So,
ooh, nice. Also, did you ask Logboat for commissions, some royalty money?
I did not, because I wasn't immediately recognized when I walked in, so I felt offended. So I just drank all their beers out of spite.
I like that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So for me, and I'm actually looking up the description on their website. I am having the good old Boulevard Brewing Company's Love Child Sour Ale number 8. And I tell you what, that is it is a delicious beer no matter what. And wouldn't you say besides Tank 7, you would say that's kind of their kind of the next beer in a sense?
No, Saison Brett.
Saison Brett. That is a good one. Actually, I think I'm going to get that this week for graduation.
Yeah, honestly, that Saison Brett is my favorite Boulevard beer.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But Love Child, I think I've had 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had 7 or 8. Maybe I've had 7. I don't remember. But I know I haven't had 1 through 3. Because I know for the first part of that series, they were still blending. Like if you got a Love Child 1 and a Love Child 3, there was blends from 1 and 2 that helped make 3.
Interesting. See, I never knew that.
But that blend, I want to say, obviously ran out at like 5
Mm-hmm.
or 6. So this is a new sour blend,
Definite. Yeah. Yeah.
if I'm thinking of it right.
Mm-hmm. And, just to give the description of
Here
it.
it is.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
you got it.
I got the description on the website. Here we go.
Oh,
So Love Child number 8 from Boulevard Brewing Company is a wood age sour ale. Boulevard's Love Child series of wild ales are barreled aged with such boisterous cultures as lactobacillus and the Brettanomyces, if I'm saying that correctly, which is the yeast used in the Saison Brett from Boulevard Brewing Company. These wayward offspring can prove so complex that we employ gauges on the label to convey the intensity of 3 key personality traits: funk, sour, and fruit, presenting a picture of an ale at the time it was released. It was a change as it ages, but don't we all? A blended wood-aged sour beer, Love Child number 8, is composed of multiple vintages of Flanders-style sour red ale and a sour Belgian-style golden. This release features a soft lactic acidity punctuated with a slightly acidic note and a tart, fruity flavor reminiscing of sour cherries and green strawberries.
So 1 out of 5 bottle caps.
Really? On
What do you? No. What do you
oh
give it?
oh! I thought you were saying that's what it was on was on Untapped.
No, I'll tell you the Untapped overall rating after you tell me.
Now you got to let me actually be a beer connoisseur.
Sip it. This is really good radio for our listeners right now.
I can definitely taste the sour cherries. I can definitely feel the funk, the sour, and the fruit.
Are you twirling a mustache while you do this?
Hardy, hard, hard, hard. Really, I have to give this sour. This I've had the Ozark style ale, which is a kettle sour, the Cobra Scare of 53, and that was not really to be honest with you, not really a good sour ale. Well, it's a sour
kettle
wheat.
Sours.
Yeah.
Yeah, kettle sours can be different. But what rating do you give this Love Child number 8?
I would have to give this Love Child number 8 a 4 because it's definitely, it's one of the Smokestack series, one of the better ones of that, and it's a limited release of it too. So of course they're going to put love and care with this child of beer into it, and I really enjoy it. So I give it a 4.
All right. Well, the average rating comes in at a 4.1.
Okay. So, yeah.
So both Boulevard beers that we had tonight, Untapped overall average rating are 4.1s.
And also, I'm having it in the recommended glassware, the Tulip glass, from Boulevard Brewing Company. So
I have mine in a fat tulip glass.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And, you were talking about the alcohol by volume with yours. You said yours was 11.5?
11.8.
Mine is a flat 9%. And man, I don't feel it just yet, but I know it's coming sooner or later. But I mean, yeah, it's not that bad of a beer at all. And I know, this was kind of brought up, actually 2 weeks back. Mothers came into work. They were just showing off the beers that they were going to have at this event in Springfield, and they brought in the Cobra Scare 53, and they were talking about how it was just tart and stuff, and I was right next to the people that that were the talent on TV, and I go, yeah, it's a really great sour beer, and they were like, no, don't say that, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why you're not telling me that, because even though if you go onto the website, it says it's sour, yada yada yada. So 5 minutes later, he told me and the rest of the talent that sour beers, they have that distinct hatred to newcomers of beer because it's sour. It has that funk. It has that tart.
That dude was kind of a dick then. He'd be like, no, don't call it a sour beer. No.
Well, the thing
call it
is,
what it is. So like, people that are branching out and trying new styles, if you put like this like voodoo on it, of like, oh, it's a sour beer, I'm new to craft beer, there's no way I'm gonna like that. No.
Well, he was saying that he's like, the reason why I say tart, and then once the people try it, I tell them that it's actually a sour, is because he doesn't want people pushed away because of the word sour. It has that negative connotation.
There's definitely I get the verbiage with it.
Yeah.
I understand it, but if you're brewing a sour beer, call it a sour beer. But in the description, you can, I don't know.
No, I definitely understand what you're trying to say. I definitely understand, and that's why I'm just like, no, I would still call it a sour beer. Yeah, you can cover it up by saying, oh, it's an Ozark style wheat, an Ozark style beer. But then people are going to be like, what the hell is that? It's not really descriptive. It's more towards the region than the actual beer. It's a kettle sour beer. People that are listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I've never had a sour beer." Try it. Try Love Child, the Love Child series from Boulevard. I just don't want you to pay, I don't want you to spend all your money on it, because it can, I believe that this bottle,
sour beers get expensive.
Yeah, sour beers get expensive, and I don't want somebody to buy a bomber, which is, the 750 milliliter bottles of a sour beer at like $14 to $20, which it can go to that. But I don't want people to do that and dislike it. I'd rather have them, try, a Berliner Weiss or just like the Cobra Scare 53 or any other,
Or
small,
Or a Goza.
Or a Goza. Yeah, those are perfect beers because they're more than likely in a smaller bottle. They're, smaller bottles, the normal 12-ounce bottles.
So, with craft beer, you kind of got to ease into it.
Yeah.
Because there's no way if my first craft beer could have been some like hoppy double IPA.
Yeah, because then you're screwed.
Then I'm immediately thinking, oh, this is what all this beer tastes like. No, you kind of got to break into it with like wheat beers and brown ales and stuff like that. So anytime you go into a style, you kind of want to toe dip before you dive head first.
Definitely. And, just saying, like, this past week, I was at home, back in my hometown hanging out with friends, and this guy that drinks, Budweiser, Bud Light, can't hate on the guy because he does actually, I actually do let him try some of my craft beers. I give him a Boulevard Wheat. He doesn't like that. And I'm just like, all right, if he doesn't like that, then what about the Kolsch? The Boulevard, Boulevard Kolsch, clone style golden ale. And he was a little bit skeptical about that. And for me, that's like what Budweiser should taste like. That's the first thing I say every time when I drink that. And when people are around that have never had it and they're looking at me like I'm holding the Holy Grail in my hands, I go, hey, this is what, Budweiser should taste like, your Bud Lights, your Michelob Lights. This is what it should taste like.
So, since you were back in town,
yeah,
what is the craft beer situation there?
I want to say dying. I'm not.
Yeah,
well,
because
not really necessarily dying. It is stagnant. There hasn't been really enough
did they hit a
push
and that
for
was
it.
Did they just plateau?
I think they're at a plateau because I didn't see a lot of the I didn't see Snow and Tell, which is another Boulevard Brewing Company beer, which is an oaked aged Scotch ale, which I do enjoy, and I do enjoy Scotch ales. I just didn't see a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of that at the store. I didn't see a lot of other beers, and I'm not going to get much into limited releases or smokestack series because that's hit or miss too. But
I was to say, because there's that store in town, the liquor store outside of town.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little shelf with Boulevard's like 750 milliliter bottle smokestack releases.
Mm-hmm.
And like I could always, I don't know if they still have it, but man, one year I was able to get a 1.5 year old Saison Brett there.
And I believe they still do. I believe they still have a 15.
Oh. Well, when I'm back in town tomorrow,
you can
might have to get it.
You pretty much stole it because I was gonna buy it the night that I was there, and I was like,
see, that's a big thing too, because like when I go back to town, I always check to see like what kind of like vintage stuff, quote unquote, they have there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm terrible about trying to cellar beer, because I will just drink it the week or 2 weeks I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself I'm gonna wait, but I never wait. So
Hey.
if I don't buy it and I leave it there, I obviously can't drink it.
Hey, man, I will tell you that it took me a lot of courage and a lot of buying, mixed sixes not to drink this Love Child the first 2 weeks. And I go, I will save this for an important moment, an important date, either, and I was thinking graduation, and then I was like, you know what? It's near Thanksgiving. Why not? And, kind of bringing up Thanksgiving, what is the beer that you would drink on Thanksgiving? Or what would you recommend? It doesn't have to be a specific, brand. It doesn't have to be a specific brand like, Boulevards, blah, 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 or Log Boats, blah, blah, blah. But something that is kind of good for Thanksgiving.
Like while you're eating?
While you're eating, while you're celebrating, while you're doing whatever.
So maybe like a beer you have before you start eating would be like a low ABV IPA.
Mm-hmm.
Like an all day IPA or something like that. And then I would do, like, while you're eating, like a brown sour ale.
Ooh, I like that.
And then afterwards, because, you're eating your pies and stuff like that, do like a oatmeal stout, something like that.
That is very, very interesting. Because I would never think of, I do like those beers, but I would never think about that. For me, I would have to go with a lambic or a fruit beer. And, I think it's just, with the holidays being around, you see a lot of, a lot of cherries, a lot of apple, being used in beers and all that stuff. And I think that's kind of like the festive beer in a way, because that's just me. But, if you don't know what a lambic is, a fruit beer, I mean, it's simple in a way, but what it says in the description in Beer Advocate is, in the case of fruit lambics, whole fruits are traditionally added after spontaneous fermentation has started. Cherries, raspberries, peaches, and black currants are common fruits with lambics, all producing subtle to intense fruit characters respectively. Once the fruit is added, the beer is subjected to additional maturation before bottling. Malts and hop characters are generally low to allow the fruit to be consumed the palate. Alcohol content tends to be low with these beers. And I mean like right now I'm looking at it, and like the highest one I see is like a 6.5, actually an 8.5, but I think that's I think they have something else in it, but it's usually 5 and 6. And actually, also in the description, it says some breweries opt to use fruit/sugar syrups versus whole fruits, producing a very non-traditional sweet version of the style. And usually the beer that I go to, if you want to go brand and style with the lambic, is the Lindman's Creek or the Lindman's Peach, which the Creek is the cherry version because that's, I believe, Belgian, well, French. But Lindman's, I think a lot of people know about Lindman's, but they don't get it because they're just like, oh. But yeah, I believe that's kind of the, I guess, beer to have for Thanksgiving, and I know that I'll be getting one for Thanksgiving. I had one last year with family. We just, you don't have to have a whole glass. You can just get out the little 5-ounce or, tasters, and everybody's good with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't know
Just
why.
never.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the whole lambic style. I've just never been a big fan of it.
And of course, it's each their own. That's why that's why you have three beers. Before, during, and after your your dinners or lunches. For me, just for the whole thing, a lambic, is good. I mean, it's again fruity and all that stuff. I'm just wondering why they don't have a cranberry version of it.
Ugh. I don't even like cranberry sauce.
I guess I'll have to make a cranberry lambic for
There you go.
For Thanksgiving. And it looks like nobody makes that. I see a strawberry. I see a let me see, a persimmon version, a blackberry version, and also, if all you listeners out there are wondering, get you want to get a lambic or all the beers that Phil said.
Okay, well, Samuel Adams makes a cranberry lambic.
Son of a bitch. I thought I was on to something.
I don't know what you're looking at, but it's pretty easy to find on Beer Advocate.
I have it on, I guess I have it on the ratings, like how many has rated, not necessarily the score. Or I'm not really trying to look at them, but it said Samuel Adams has one. Interesting.
Yeah. It was checked in this year, so they still brew it.
Nice.
But Beer Advocate is only giving it a 2.67.
So maybe you shouldn't go for a cranberry lambic. But
it's a fruit/vegetable beer.
Ooh,
No, thank you.
yeah, that just sounds horrible.
I need to
I thought vegetable
I want
beers
to
had
find
their
an
own
actual
styles.
description. Samuel Adams. I need your actual description of this beer.
Let's see who can get it first.
That's not even on their goddamn website. What is this?
It's lies. It's all lies, Phil. It's all lies. While you're looking for that beer and looking for the description of it, finally, we're finally in the off season, and ooh, also a good thing too, which is
Commercial
awesome.
description.
Go ahead.
Is a fruit beer that draws its flavor not just from the cranberries it's brewed with, but also from the unique fermentation character imparted by the rare wild yeast strain. The result is a flavor-rich and fruitiness reminiscence of cranberries, cloves, and nutmeg. The yeast fermentation also will create a slight sourness on the sides of the palate, a signature of the original lambic style, which the subtle cereal notes from the wheat malt remind its drinker that as fruity beer as this is, it's still a beer.
So it definitely
Okay, and it is no longer in production.
Darn. Well, actually, that's a good thing. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring the cranberry lambic
Do not
back.
bring it back. Because even on Beer Advocate, it barely got a 2.
I would love to read those
So-
comments, but not now.
I was going to say, I was getting stuck. I had to sit out.
All right. Anyway, before you read the description, I was going to talk about, finally we're kind of in the off season for the show, and I don't have to pay much attention to baseball, but I still do from time to time, and I'm finally getting back to the OOTP videos. I'm finally going to get back to those. Finally going to get to the historical showdowns. But of course, first we brought this up in the middle of the season, where we were going to have this tournament of sorts called the Lucky Sevens tournament, where we would have the winners, World Series winners from the years that ended in a 7, be in this. So let's just say, I'll just rattle off those World Series winners. We have the 1987 Minnesota Twins, the 1997 Florida Marlins, the 1957 Milwaukee Braves, 2007 Boston Red Sox, 1917 Chicago White Sox, which the Black Sox well, no, that would be the next year, would be Black Sox scandal. Then the 1967 St. Louis Cardinals, the 1907 Chicago Cubs, and the 1927 New York Yankees. And if you've heard and knew what the hell I was talking about, all those years ended in a 7, and those teams get in. And I don't know if you're thinking about this, but I know, when doing this and thinking about all the other years, what about, 1947, 1977, 1937? Well, you can blame the Yankees on that. And I didn't want to have 4 Yankee teams in a tournament. I just wanted 1. And I just decided to go with, the 1927 Yankees, the highly touted Yankees, I can't even think of the what they actually called those Yankees in 1927. But they were definitely one of the best teams in all of baseball. They had Lou Gehrig, they had Babe Ruth, 2 Hall of Famers, they had a couple other Hall of Famers and all that stuff. And I believe they actually have the highest WAR score. That team as a total have the highest WAR score than all these other teams in this tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that I'm not 100% paying attention.
It's okay.
But I can hear my wife just cracking up in the other room, and I have no idea what she's watching, and it's hilarious.
It is. Is it scaring you though? That's the question.
No,
That's
but
good.
it's just like every so often she'll just like lose in there, and I just don't know what's going on.
Hey, whatever floats her boat, man. You know,
Right?
whatever floats her boat. But you know, we kind of wanted to come up with this. You know, we came up with this for quite a while. Like I said, back in the middle of the season, near the All-Star break, because first of all, we needed something to do. We fell in love with the game of out of the park baseball, and you know, when doing the historical showdowns, we decided, you know, why not try this? Why not have, why not do this tournament? Which I did not know that if you can create a fictional league, you can have historical teams on there. And, you know, this year was 2017. Why not make it about the teams that won it in the year that ended in the number 7? And I know that you're probably all thinking also, why not the Houston Astros? Well, the game does not give me, I don't believe they're going to update the game to have the team, but they haven't updated or messed with Out of the Park Baseball 18. They're going straight into OOTP 19 now, and that's the reason why we cannot have the recently crowned World Series champion Houston Astros. But it's still going to be an interesting series. I plan to do it as a 4-part series. You know, the first video be the first half of the season, second half of the video be the second half of the season, have kind of possibly an all-star game. I don't know how, because I put them all together. And then instead of having 1 and 2 go at it, or just have the first place team win it all in the regular season, I made everybody part of the playoffs, just to add more fuel to the crazy ass fire that's going to happen. So we might have a team like the Florida Marlins playing against the Chicago White Sox and win it, when the New York Yankees were definitely a better team.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun to watch. I can't wait to see your videos you put up.
I might do one on Twitch. Don't quote me on that, because, again, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of me graduating. So I might put more effort into actually graduating than making videos.
Oh, how dare you!
Yeah, I know. I'm such a freaking horrible person, right? But
how dare you better yourself?
Yeah, of course. But, you know, that was kind of the one thing that I wanted to get to this off season, is actually do OOTP videos for you all. And actually, you know, I kind of brought it up 3 weeks back in our last episode that I wanted to get YouTube videos of our previous episodes on YouTube and all that stuff. But I wanted to start out with this because it will be a nice series, and then once this is done, I'll probably go straight on to a 2018 edition of this, where it would be called like the Elite Eights tournament, where we would have all the teams that won in the year, in a year that ended in the number 8. And so we'll just have those teams in it. And of course, I know the effing Yankees will take like 40 of those freaking spots. So it'll be like 2
especially
people.
Especially in 98.
Yeah, 98 will definitely. I'll just be like, you know what? We'll make that San
No
Diego
Yankees.
Padres. San Diego Padres 98. But no, it's just definitely, it was I kind of got pissed off about it when I was just like looking at these teams. I'm like, Yankees, no. Yankees, no. Yankees, no. And And it's just like, oh, the 1927 Yankees, yeah, let's have them in it, the greatest team of all time, quote unquote. And that's kind of the reason. That's why I have them in there. I can't wait to to do the 2018 edition. Then probably start probably from 6 and then 5s and then 4s, because I don't know how long this podcast is going to go, and I don't know.
You act like I'm going to let you leave the basement.
You might. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the Dodgers want me. I don't know. But I'm just gonna get onto those, after the Elite Eights division version of that will be done. I will get back onto the historical showdowns, which will be enticingly fun, especially, since the baseball season's coming up. And I can use, any team I want. We can, track, teams that have only won 2 titles, which I'm pretty sure Phil just heard. I'm pretty sure that Phil's ears just perked up, because there's possibly going to be an 85 Royals versus 2015 Royals, which will be an interesting matchup. We might do even though it'd be ridiculous to do, we might do a season where we have all 27 World Series Yankee teams pit against each other to see who is the quote-unquote best. And I might do multiple